Hey guys, it's Mike here, and over on my community tab here on YouTube, I asked you guys a question, which is, what is the best ending in the Dragon Ball franchise? With the stipulation that this could be the end of a saga or of a series, because of course, we know in Dragon Ball there have been a number of really iconic endings throughout the course of the story, and not all of them have been the end of a series like Dragon Ball Z, Super, or GT. So, I asked you guys this question, and now I'm going to respond to some of your responses down below. Now, of course, as is usually the case, there are going to be a lot of repeat responses, so as a result, I'm going to respond to each of the main comments or points that you guys seem to agree on, and giving my own thoughts on them. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to be talking about what I believe is the best ending so far. So let's get into this video now with the first answer on here, which is Dragon Ball GT. And of course, he has a lot of his own reasoning and rationale right here as well, and there are other people who have responded as well, saying Dragon Ball GT throughout the comments. So, taking a look at the Dragon Ball GT ending, I talked about it recently in my video, 10 things I like about Dragon Ball GT, which you guys should definitely check out. And as far as the ending goes, I would definitely have to say it is one of the best, or certainly in contention for the best ending in the entire franchise. The fact that it so sums up much of what Dragon Ball GT and the entire franchise is going for, how Goku, the main hero and character of the franchise, goes away with Shenron, absorbing the Dragon Balls, seemingly disappearing for 100 years, leaving people to grow and continue to evolve, to where eventually Goku returns and he sees his descendant Goku Jr., as well as Vegeta Jr., with both of them becoming Super Saiyans at the tournament where he really started, in many ways, his true martial arts journey in the 21st tournament of Dragon Ball. Tying that in again with his iconic rivalry with Vegeta. You know, it's been 100 years, all of the Z fighters have passed on, except for like Master Roshi and people who might have immortality at this point in time. And the world is at peace, and for all we know, it's been 100 years of peace before that as well. And as Goku disappears into the sky, we know that if anything happens again, the Dragon Balls and perhaps Goku may be there, looking over the warriors of Earth and ready to help out. So it's definitely an emotional and poignant moment, and one of the best in the entire franchise. So the next big response is the Cell Saga, with this commenter saying the Cell Saga ending was the best in the franchise. It culminates Gohan's arc through the series to that point very well and pays off following him up to that point. And additionally, with this other commenter pointing out as Goku passes the torch to Gohan, and the series metaphorically passes the torch to its future in what will transpire after Goku. In some ways, kind of an inverse of the ending of GT, where everything once again goes back to Goku with him leaving at the end, but we know that the Earth is now in even better hands with his son. And this is another great choice because the Cell Saga ending is almost perfect as far as I'm concerned. A lot of people have had their problems with it over the course of time, but that goes for pretty much every Dragon Ball arc, and the Cell Saga is certainly no different. But with that being said, the Cell Saga is definitely a great endpoint for not only Dragon Ball Z, but the entire franchise, with the main character of Goku pushing himself to his absolute limits on Earth, and then sacrificing his life and his existence on the planet for his son, and in order for him to try and keep villains away. Gohan, this timid character who first began as a 4-year-old who wanted to become a scholar, is now someone who has taken on the role of the main protector of the Earth, the most powerful character who finally has full control over all of his hidden power that he could only access before through rage. And it brings peace to the present timeline, which would have seen a far more dark fate if Trunks wasn't involved. And speaking of Trunks, he also gets another great ending immediately after the ending with Gohan, where he goes back to his future and destroys his androids as well as his version of Cell. So again, you get two pretty much perfect endings back to back, giving you that emotional 1-2 punch. So I definitely see why people would consider this the best ending. But there are some others I'm going to talk about as well. Such as this entry here, where he says, Dragon Ball, when Goku got married to Chi-Chi, otherwise known as the end of the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai or the Piccolo Jr. saga, in which after 3 tournaments, Goku has finally won the title of the greatest martial artist on Earth, having surpassed the literal god of the the Earth and Kami, defeating the spawn of King Piccolo, the ultimate enemy up until that point, stopping his plan and finally marrying Chi-Chi, before flying off on the Kinto Un into the distance. All of this wraps up the initial series of Dragon Ball pretty much perfectly. Aside from Goku saving Piccolo Jr. with the Senzu Bean, there aren't really any loose ends to tie up either. And although we wouldn't have gotten anything that takes place after that point, I think that the Dragon Ball franchise would have still been a really great series and pretty near perfect in a lot of ways if it did come to its conclusion at the end of the 23rd tournament. So once again, this is another great choice. And another one that I feel like a lot of people think of is also the ending of the Frieza saga, after Goku finally defeats Frieza. And I could certainly see it being a strong choice. After all, Frieza was the be-all, end-all villain of the franchise at this point. He was so grossly more powerful than pretty much every other character we had seen up until that point, including Goku. He was the one who destroyed Goku's home planet, including his family, wiped out pretty much all of the other Saiyans, and sent him on his journey to begin with. A journey which seemed destined to end with Goku finally defeating Frieza, which he did after he achieved the legendary transformation of Super Saiyan, through a combination of what he had achieved on Earth and embracing his Saiyan heritage to fight Frieza. It was one of the most epic and badass fights in the entire franchise, with Goku finally defeating Frieza after he succumbed to his own attack and then his own arrogance. And then the planet they were on exploded, but as they went to wish back Goku, Shenron said that he doesn't want to return, and he's actually still alive off training in space, but one day he'll be back. There are a lot of different anime I've seen over the years that have ended pretty similar, where the hero disappears and leaves everyone behind, but maybe one day they'll be back. So I think in terms of like a typical anime ending, this certainly could have worked here, and I think it still would have been a pretty badass ending. But with that being said, it's certainly not my favorite, and I feel like some of the other ones have a lot more strength to them. And also, just because I'm sure that tons of people are going to comment this, no, this wasn't the original intended ending of Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball at all, which this great website Kanzenshu goes really far in depth into. So you should definitely check out this intended endings guide here. Now, some people have also said the Buu Saga, which of course was the official canon ending to the series, and seemingly still is so at this point in time, where after the defeat of Kid Buu with the Spirit Bomb, 10 years pass, and there's another World's Martial Arts tournament coming up, that Goku, Vegeta, and now the teenage versions of Goten Trunks enter along with some other people. But all of this is leading up to where Goku meets Oob, the reincarnation of Buu, where they have their fun fight and then Goku takes Oob away to train with him, so he can teach him to bring out the full potential of Kid Buu that's inside of him, and then they can finally have one last fight. Once again, this is kind of like what I said with the Frieza arc, where the main character flies away into the distance, leaving everyone behind, but swears that one day they'll return. And also kind of like the Cell Saga, it sets up a possible future in which someone else takes on the role of the main protector of the Earth, someone with an incredible amount of potential inside of them, who might even be able to be more powerful than Goku. Now, this ending has really been significantly undermined by Dragon Ball Super. After all, when we first met Oob, he was the reincarnation of the last main villain that Goku fought, the most powerful villain we'd ever seen up until that point in time. It seemed far more impressive, not to mention that we were told that 10 years of peace had come, so it felt like far more of something that was moving on, as opposed to what's going on with Dragon Ball Super right now, where everything takes place during that 10-year time skip, and there are characters that are so much above what Kid Buu was at this point, that he really seems like nothing by comparison, and as a result it makes Oob seem far less relevant as well. And honestly, as far as this ending goes, in terms of an actual series conclusion, it's probably my least favorite out of all of them. And I know a lot of other people share that opinion. And the next one is the Super Future Trunks arc.
You what?
So these have been your responses on the community tab as to what you think the best ending is. If I were to give mine, I would have to agree with a number of people on here when they said that the Cell Saga has the best ending. For me, it was just the perfect conclusion, and really two conclusions, to two different storylines which not only tied up everything involving the prior Dragon Ball and Goku story, giving him a respectful send-off and giving him an even greater adventure in the afterlife to go to, but also brought peace to not not only the main timeline, but Trunks' timeline, and left the hands in the future generation. In many ways, I feel like everything after the Cell arc was kind of a downward slope. And although there certainly was some good content after Cell, I think that if the franchise had ended there, the franchise would have been just as legendary, if not more so, than it is right now. So for me, the best ending of Dragon Ball so far would definitely have to be the end of the Cell games. But of course, there are plenty of other endings in this franchise that we didn't even cover in this video. So let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think the best ending is? And as a bonus question, what do you think is the best ending to an episode or a chapter of the manga? Because we know that Toriyama loved those cliffhangers. Let me know down below. If you like this content, you can help support LSM on Patreon, a link to which is down below in the description. Make sure to subscribe and enable all notifications, so you can stay up to date with all of my videos. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.